to Total Disclosure. Got a special episode for everyone tonight. We are live, and I'm gonna get back into this. Doing a live show per week, making sure that we're interacting and engaging with the community more consistently. I was a little bit delayed today. I do want to apologize for that, but guys, we got a great show for you today. I want to say welcome everyone to Total Disclosure. As I said before, today on the show, we'll be having an electrifying discussion. We're diving deep into the enigmatic world of UFOs and government disclosure with none other than Ivan Hannel, Esquire, a powerhouse attorney who's becoming a more prominent voice and figure in the UAP conversation. As the legal counsel for Lue Elizondo, the former head of ATIP, and whether you like it or not, Lue has become a leading voice in UFO disclosure. Ivan has had a front row seat to some of the most groundbreaking developments in this space, from navigating congressional briefings to protecting whistleblowers and facilitating the emergence of new insiders. Ivan's journey blends law, secrecy, and the search for truth. Tonight, we'll explore Ivan's experiences, unpack the legal and political complexities of UFO disclosure, and maybe get a glimpse at what's coming next. Kick back, grab a cola, and buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride. All right, Mr. Hannel, good to have you on the show, my friend.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I'm the one who was delayed, and I apologize that. So it was not your delay; it was mine. But keeping everything honest. But thanks very much, and happy to chat with you. I hope I have a tendency to look at the screen rather than the camera, so I apologize. I'll do my best.
You're fine, man. You're fine. I'm sure you've been in far more tense environments. This is just
that is true.
You and I having a conversation as friends, and Jimmy. I think Jimmy Church has a really good saying. I wish I could steal it from him, but where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we'll end as friends.
That's a beautiful one. That's a great. I think I was with Jimmy Church once on a radio show. He seemed like a very nice person.
Yeah, he is. He's pretty intense. He's really intense, actually.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting. I did find him to be very pro-disclosure, which I certainly respect, and that was a nice time.
Yeah. So I've been watching your presence in the community grow. So I've been very eager to chat with you, and I really, before we get started, obviously, guys, make sure to like, share, subscribe. The first 30 minutes of the show is streamed on X, but after that, I cut it off. You got to come over to YouTube. Again, I want to say thank you to Mr. Hannel for being here. We're going to have some really, really fun. As always, my fellow truth seekers and assets, make sure you whisk and roll in that like button at a low simmer and share the show with your friends, the Grays. Fuck your family. We don't care. Subscribe as well. Ring the bell so you don't miss any future uploads or live shows like the one we're watching right now. Okay, bills paid. One last time, thank you, Ivan. Let's get started, brother. You're a seasoned attorney. UFOs and UAPs aren't exactly standard legal fare. What was the defining moment when you first got pulled into this world of ufology, and how did your relationship with Lue Elizondo begin?
There wasn't really a moment in particular. I think I just became interested in it like anybody else. I go back to the sort of seminal 2017 New York Times article and, began to give it more credit, perhaps. I was not a historian of UFOs. It's not that I thought it was impossible. As I've said many times, I simply thought it was unlikely that in my lifetime I would be the, part of the generation where there was a recognition of some sort of presence or observation or whatever it is. And also, frankly, I was fairly skeptical that the United States government could keep a program to recover and deconstruct, or whatever you want to call it, reverse engineer UAP. I prefer to call them UFOs, so I'm just going to go back to that, and everybody else can say whatever they want. But I just thought it was somewhat improbable. But in reflection, you can think of by analogy that there are programs that the atomic bomb probably wasn't known by very many people up until it blew up. The D-Day invasion, where both sides had certainly incentives to learn what was happening on the other side and was going to happen within a certain period of time, was held secret despite hundreds of thousands of people being on either side waiting for death, frankly. So you can see, so it's possible. I mean, and the levels of stupidity, frankly, that the government is capable of is astronomical. Another example, which gave me reason to think it might be possible that they would do something as inane as trying to hide the recovery and reverse engineering of UFOs and associated strange things, was Agent Orange. Actually, I mean, I came from Arizona, and Arizona is very hard to maintain a garden without having weeds. It's just like you got to nuke the ground, and I'm not in favor of that. I prefer a more natural setting. But in Arizona, it's all fake lawns and whatever, and you're out there cutting the grass and so on. So to imagine defoliating, and whoever came up with the genius idea of defoliating entire mountain ranges and paths in a country in order to drop iron bombs, which are imprecise anyway, is one of the most extraordinarily stupid endeavors that could have ever happened. And yet it did. And I could go on and on, whether it's 9/11, the ridiculous invasion of the wrong country during the during the Afghanistan, Bin Laden, the whole thing. And then even our response to COVID was completely asinine. It's not that I'm, anti-vaccine necessarily, but I knew, so without going into all the, my whole COVID stuff, fundamentally, I had to accept that it might be possible that the U.S. government, both had some very well hidden program that had persisted over many decades, and in addition was, for some strange set of probably very human reasons, not necessarily good reasons, but human reasons, was inhibiting knowledge about this, whether in the domain of physics, as Eric Weinstein perhaps believes, or just to the general public, and so I had to give it some credence, and that's where it kind of began for me. And then I became more formally involved, as you know, and I've referenced only last year. Although I think I was a little bit before that, chatting with people in the community, reaching out to people and getting their perspective, and that was it. So it wasn't, it wasn't one seminal moment where I was in my car and the light came out and all that crap. No, it's not like that. It was just very.
You
very
didn't have a Jake Barber moment where an orb passed through you and.
That's a fascinating thing. I mean, I both envy him for having such an extreme experience. He certainly, in my opinion, believes what he believes genuinely. That's what I infer by looking at his face and understanding him and, his behavior. He really seems to have had a phenomenal experience. I've had no experiences. I must have whatever it is that keeps the aliens away. And some people think that's good and some people think that's bad. I have no opinion of it. I'm not a ufologist, not only in the sense that, I've studied, I haven't studied this field as some have, and many people sort of use that as I wouldn't say a crutch. I wish I could do much more study, but they feel very aligned with the study of this phenomena. I really see it in a very narrow lens. I'm not necessarily. I almost think of sometimes it's almost like a jihadist for UFOs. Rather, I am an American who wants our government to work, and I think this would be one way of maybe getting to some community, both within the United States and within the world, so that we have something better to be. And my predicament throughout this journey has been that the people involved in this whole thing, not all of them, many of them are great people, and I don't want to malign all of them, but we need to be better on the route to the destination. As I always say, it's not the aliens won't save us from ourselves. If we bring malintent and corruption and conspiracy and power brokering and behind the scenes bullshit, then the net result will be, the aliens aren't going to fix that. And there are many people who are very enthused for the technology and they think they're going to fly around on magic carpets or they're going to, what the fuck it is. Sorry, I curse. And
That's all good.
but for me, that's insane. You're not going to be better on Mars with your, magic technology. You're not going to be better. You're going to be just who you are. So who we are now actually matters. And there's many people within this community who allow people of very poor character and poor behavior and actually bad intent to lead this group of people. And I think it's really unfortunate because your character does matter. People change. I understand, and we're all a mix of good and bad. So I understand that, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my principles on the road to UFOs.
That's a good point. And after you have this, or at least you have these series of thoughts where you start to consider that what has been said around the UFO topic may in fact there is a there. You then how do you meet Elizondo, and how do you become specifically one of the most well-known people in ufology?
People call it ufology. I call it ufology. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's potato, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. So ufology. So I mean, you went from 0 to 60 real quick. And this is a man who was represented, mind you. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I do apologize.
No, my fault.
This is a man that was represented by Danny Sheehan, right? This is a man who led one of the most now, or at least allegedly led one of the most well-known, UFO programs. Kind of what the whole 2017 article was based around. So you're reading that article, and then you become the lawyer for the guy that's talked about in that article.
Sure.
So how does that happen?
Well, I mean, it was very simple. I'll tell you the story how I met him. I mean, it's not a big deal. And by the way, I know for you all, it's a big deal, but I represent people, whether you're a client, who has a business dispute with another client, whether it's corporations disputing, certainly represented individuals and many kinds of things. I take everybody sort of the same. So for me, it wasn't some, I know it's hard for you all to imagine, but I'm not a, I'm not a ufologist necessarily. I'm simply a lawyer who found himself in an unusual circumstance with an interest in the field. Okay, that said, I met Lue because a guy named Yuan Feng, who is the former head of the UAP Disclosure Fund, nice person. I happened to meet him once. I think they were frankly looking for, there were some additional people on this call with Lue who were perhaps maybe going to give some funds or something like that. And I knew them, they were friends, and I still respect them. They're two very nice people in the community. And so I was introduced. I really don't have any other greater explanation than that. It was just a random moment where, it was like, hey, would you like to meet Lue? I was like, I frankly didn't know much about him. I know that sounds strange because you all did, but I didn't know a whole lot about him, and got on the phone, and I found him to be a very interesting and kind and seemingly reasonable person. So I got along with him well. And that really is, and I apologize. And that's it. So it was just I'm going to mute my phone. That was it. It was just a very positive experience, and enjoyed his conversation. And, we continued to talk. I think he, at that point, did not have a particular, I don't know what was going on with his legal world, but so we just talked as people. Now that really where it began.
So
it's not extraordinary, unfortunately.
I was going to say, it's kind of.
And I cannot hear you. I apologize. Am I muted or something? I'm sorry.
No, it's me.
Oh, maybe can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, now I can hear you. So now I can hear you. I'm sorry. Just the volume faded tremendously.
Yeah, no, I think I was on the street. I think I was on the camera's microphone originally.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So someone was like, "Hey, switch your mic," and I had to switch it. So I apologize.
Understood. Yeah.
But contrary to popular belief, I guess, right? That's it wasn't this like come to Jesus moment where you become Elizondo's lawyer.
No, 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 no. And then you know what? Listen, that's the way it is with a lot of people. I talk to people throughout the community, not just with the UFOs, people who have, all manner of problems. I mean, all manner of legal problems. It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. I basically live in a world of human problems on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, weekends, holidays, whatever it is, to the discontent of my wife, and family. But yeah, that was it. It was just, people want my perspective on things for whatever reason. I try to be as balanced as I can and assume, positivity, but sometimes that's not the case. So that was it. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't see you or hear you.
You can hear though, right?
I can hear, but I cannot see.
Yeah, so it's I don't know what is acting up. I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty. However, if you can hear me, that's all that matters right now.
I can, and I'm going to reduce your volume now because you became very loud from being very quiet. But okay, here we go.
So if you could just answer this, I'm going to work on my little technical issue.
Sure.
You recently mentioned a new witness who could blow open the New Jersey drone mystery. And that challenges Arrow's narrative and really the official narrative that's been put forth by the Trump administration, by the Biden administration, by pretty much everybody. Without revealing sensitive details, what makes this witness so significant, and how could their testimony reshape the public narrative and speculation about the incident?
So I don't know that I've suggested that he's, I don't know if quite I've characterized it that way, but I do think he has important things to say, and I think he's a good person. I met him, I don't know, it might've been 8 months ago. It was a random thing. He reached out to me. He had a very unusual story, although he was fairly reticent to share all the details of it, which is typical. And I tend not to ask questions of people beyond what they're willing to share out of respect for their internal, their internal morality. So I don't try to coerce people in telling me their stories or anything that, would certainly be classified. And with him, he was not a government person and seemed nice. He had a very unusual story. And the details of which, however, at least initially, I could not confirm. However, he did share with me, and then, became much more interested, of course, a lot of the communications that were going on, frankly, with the Senate, SSCI, Senator Rounds and others in his office, and eventually Arrow too. And although, these are, emails and texts and so on, and they don't necessarily, out of some degree of caution, I don't think people put in, the full script. So I'm getting, you're kind of reading a whole event or series of events that have transpired. But nevertheless, there was a lot of smoke, and I've not seen the underlying materials that he possesses, say one component, and I don't mean a component, I just mean a thing. But I began to consider his story, and he asked me to do a particular very narrow task that was important to him. I really didn't even understand why it was that important, but I was successful with that task ultimately. And I assumed it was just going to leave it from there. I didn't really know what his desire was in full relief, but he seemed to have had, not the best experience with certainly Arrow. And I didn't know how to make it right, but I was glad to have accomplished the narrow task that I was asked to do, which is fine by me. I'm an attorney. You're not, I don't have to see all the inside baseball. Then, however, Tim Phillips went on with Mick West. And actually what predates that and was Representative Burleson spoke to him, had some communications. I wasn't privy to that, which is fine. I'm not a, I'm not a control freak. I well, unfortunately, there are. There's the ufology crowd is filled with absolute control maniacs. I don't know that there might be, some comparable group of people who are extraordinarily controlling. I think it might be because in part of the military and intelligence community background of these lunatics, but in any event, Burleson went out, said he had met with my client, felt there was some degree of truth to what he was presenting, let's say. So that was fine. I didn't know where it was going to go, but I wished him well. And then the strangest thing happened, which was, the Tim Phillips interview with Mick West.
Yeah,
And
that threw me for a loop.
it is strange. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't really keeping track of Tim Phillips. I really didn't know much about him as a person. I knew about Kirkpatrick just through the same, stuff that you see online and so on. And, he seemed smart, but disingenuous, let's say. But Tim Phillips, I began to see that he was on many podcasts, and on this podcast at around the 43 minute mark, he was asked a question by Mick West, which was, what was it like to work with Arrow? Now, one of the funny things about Tim Phillips, if you're an observer of people, is that he tends to be fairly discursive. I am too, sometimes because I'm tired, and sometimes, I kind of want to lay out all my thinking. But he was asked, what was it like to work with the task force? Now, we can certainly talk more about the task force shortly. I'm sure that's going to be a topic. But he was asked that, and his response was extraordinarily strange. It was orthogonal to the question. It was, what was it like to work with the task force? He could have said, it was great, or, it's intermittent, or it wasn't my real responsibility, or whatever. And instead, he says, they sent us one witness who I had, essentially he implied that this one witness was a danger to others, because he said, I'm not a medical professional. And, if I say I'm not a medical professional, but you're a bank thief, you can't excuse your words by preceding them with, I'm not a medical professional, but I think you're, wanted by the law. That doesn't work. And he did that typically in a sort of self-protective way that people do. And then he also went and said that, that he brought in physical materials. Mick West asked him, well, what did he bring in physical materials? And having knowledge that he did have physical materials, I was surprised that he was willing to confirm that, and he did confirm it. And then he went on to say that as a result of that, either the physical materials and other written and videographic and photographic and other information, which I've not seen myself, but for one small piece, but for, sort of emails and texts and one object, he basically said that as a result of that, he went back to talk to the chairman of, which I assume is the chairman of the SSCI, and who I believe is Tom Cotton, at least, in this year. And he said he talked to him, and as a result, he was recommended to go get read in to various programs at what he called the Nevada test site, which I assume is Area 51 or something like that. And then, even stranger, he said that because of his read into those programs and his knowledge of what my client brought forth, that what he could understand why people might think this technology was alien in nature because it must be so technologically advanced. That was a mind-blowing moment in some respects, although you're having to follow sort of the lattice work of Tim Phillips' presentation and thought process. But essentially, it confirmed that at least in some great degree, whatever it was that my client presented to Senator Rounds and SSCI and Arrow was compelling enough to go get Tim Phillips read into, I guess, at least more than one program. He said program, so I'm just going to infer it's more than one. That has what might seem to be alien technology. Now, because I know my client's story and I know its exact time frame, 2003, and because I know what he claims he saw, it would certainly not be a minor technology. And I want to clarify just for everybody. When you say something is alien-like, right, which is what Tim Phillips said, it is distinct from saying it is simply advanced.
Yeah.
So if I said to you, you know, if I showed you the, I believe it's the NGAD, I forget, or it's called the F-47, I don't know, some new plane that we're building or potentially building. And I said to you, does that look alien-like? I don't think you would say yes. I mean, you might say, sure, it's an upgrade from the F-35 or the F-15 or the F-4, you know, one of those planes. But you wouldn't say, wow, that's alien.
Right.
So what this means is this is not just an incremental or even a significant, but still prosaic, let's say, improvement upon existing technology. This seems to be a capability or a capacity that is wild. Now, originally, putting it back at 2003 was very strange for me because, first of all, I simply just didn't have the imagination to think that the United States government could be that advanced back in 2003. I mean, you know, I have not been told the drones over the East Coast and elsewhere have been sort of presenting themselves, as well as many videos of whatever it seems to be going on. You know, I just didn't think we had made that kind of advancement that was presented to the, you know, I just couldn't fathom it.
Could I
Go ahead.
Well, finish your point, because what I'm about to say is going to require. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I've probably gone. I have a tendency.
No. I'm loving this. Keep going.
But based on what, you know, I knew about the story, and based on Tim Phillips' qualification of, you know, confirmation, whatever you want to call it, it suggested to me that we've had a program, and I've heard things that suggest that we have some very advanced programs, longstanding. I didn't know how longstanding, but, you know, you think about things like James Lukatsky said, you know, I don't know, it took 20 years to get inside. You know, he talked about getting inside a UFO. Yes, it took 20 years. Well, when was that? And, you know, perhaps this has been going on for much longer. I mean, we know that there's been programs since this, you know, since the 40s, but you know, I had kind of accepted the idea that they had gotten nowhere, or that we certainly would exercise, we would use this tremendous capacity to do something, at least militarily, if not for social good. But we haven't. So
it would have popped up in the public sector somewhere.
I would have thought so at some point. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of unique technology, or, you know, some super torpedo or some super communication system, or so, even some great satellites or something, but nothing that, you know, we don't understand as being sort of part of the 5 observables or something very unusual.
Right.
But it appears to be the case that we made some significant advances. Does this mean that, you know, the Tic Tac was human or not? I have no idea. I make no claims about that. He may have an idea about that. The object that he saw was not a Tic Tac, or at least initially. I can't say later, because I don't know all the details, and I can't speak for him. And by the way, just really quick, I haven't said enough about him. He's a good person. He wants to, you know, he's just a business person. He is not a ufology, you know, advocate. It's not that he discredits it or thinks it's unreasonable. He's just very sort of looking to help the United States with what he considers a prosaic need, at least in terms of, you know, a thing that he can help with that's based on human technology. Let's leave it at that. And so that's his mindset. And, you know, I was shocked by the way he was treated, maligned for no reason. You know, there's so many missteps these intelligence community people make, but to arbitrarily, because frankly, I think Tim Phillips was bothered by the preceding weeks, you know, when Burleson said he had met with this whistleblower, and so they know who they all are. I think he was in his head, and he was responding to something that bothered him. And so in addition to simultaneously saying that my client, and again, it's not Lue Elizondo, please, for those who are new, understand.
So is this the person that has been talked about as a potential future whistleblower, but will not come forward right now?
He's not a whistleblower. He's not a part of the government. He's not revealing he's not interior to a program and coming out and saying there's corruption or whatever. He's a private citizen who ran into a very unusual event, happened to have, through himself and his family, the background to perhaps engage it in a sophisticated way, and gathered evidence and worked at it and figured some things out. Now, again, I can't speak to, I've never seen it. You know, I can only see the degree to which SSCI was taking him seriously, trying to get him perhaps funding, but was running into roadblocks. Because what he wanted to do, frankly, was to help, to help America prepare for, or at least understand that although this technology is very advanced, it is not foolproof. And to me, the relevancy of all of this is not what the underlying technology is, although it's very interesting because it may be derived from our favorite topic, right? UAP or UFOs. And that's where it becomes very interesting. But it also becomes interesting in another way, which is that for me, I was reflecting, I was 30 years old on 9/11. And that was I remember, and you're pretty, I don't know how you look a little young, but, in terms compared to me.
Yeah, I'm 32. So
I
experienced 9/11.
Yeah, you were young, you probably
Very
felt
young,
it, but I was 30 years old and
Yeah.
watching people take swan dives off of towers because of lunatic jihadists, unfortunately, which now are throughout our country with their insanity. But I watched people swan dive off the World Trade Centers, and then I watched us make every possible mistake in terms of how we treated our people, in terms of invading the wrong country, in terms of not, Halliburton, if you remember all of that, and its corruption, and all the wrong things happen, and so it was very shocking. And so for me personally, I really think that we have a big problem with drones. Whatever these drones are over New Jersey and had been prior to that over Colorado and Nebraska, are a significant issue. Whether they're merely advanced drones, whether they incorporate some phenomenal technology, I don't know. I can't trust any videos and photos anymore. I'm not a sleuth like that. But what I will say is that President Trump, pardon me?
It's a sad world that we live in where video evidence is with the advancement of AI, video evidence is essentially it's being every day more and more rendered obsolete in terms of credibility.
Yeah, it's a strange thing where as you advance technologically, the more truth can be found in the past. And, and that's why Dr. Villarroel, if I'm pronouncing her name's work, might be very important to ascertain because it predates, our efforts in space. So that science is incredibly important in my opinion, although I certainly don't know what transients are, and it still doesn't make sense to me, what they'd be doing out there. Are they still here?
I was watching it and I'm like, I don't really understand. It was so frustrating because I'm like, I don't really fucking understand what she's saying, but it sounds like something that's very impactful and the science that's of course I had to do research, but I feel your frustration.
And that guy Dennis, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, Asperger or something like that. I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't know his last name and I'm probably mispronouncing it. But his videos,
Asperger.
Not Asperger. I don't think it's that, is it? I'm sorry.
I don't.
But whatever his name is, and I apologize, sir. He his very emotional video that he put up and then took down. And, I really don't love taking down tweets because unless frankly, if there's a spelling error, sometimes I'm tempted because I often misspell. I hate to do that, or if I really mistook something or was incorrect, I'm always willing to correct myself. But his, he seems like a person of goodwill, and his sense that something was very amiss or maybe with the science or with the information is persuasive to me, that something there is there. So I wish them luck, and hopefully they can help the scientifically less literate like myself and the scientific community, which is literate, come to some conclusion about what might be going on. So it's unusual. But in any event, so for me, my client is a good person. He was really just trying to look for sharing information, seeing the business opportunities, and really working in good faith with the executive branch and also with the Congress. Unfortunately, as you can tell, it is a kind of a swamp in some respects. And I know that he remains. I know that if there is somebody out there who does have the relevant congressional ties, he's willing to certainly re-engage the government and do what he can, because again, he's a patriot. He's around my age, and he just wants to do what he considers the right thing, as well as he's invested a lot of money, so there's business interest there. So it's a combination of the things, but ultimately, I think that Tim Phillips confirmed something is very significant about the information he presented. It has implications towards advanced technology. The drones that we have seen over the East Coast, which have been confirmed by President Trump, however, simply as FAA approved,
I don't think that that's true.
And it begs all the questions of why are they there and what are they doing and what technology do they use and are they all ours? And I've heard different things. He seems to have some sense that China has made some advancements, if not maybe to our degree. But I can't speak for him, and until he wants to come forward more, it is his choice to remain in the background. But I would say that he was mistreated by Arrow. This is no unusual thing, right? I mean, if you think about it, wait, let me tell you one point that I just like to make, and I see these weird patterns, but although I'm not particularly a fan of Dave Grush, I will say, for reasons, I will say that the release of his medical records is extremely, unfortunate. It's not a good look. Well, I don't know if that had anything to do with Arrow, perhaps not, but I found it coincidental that in Tim Phillips deriding my client, it became medicalized as him being, a danger to himself or others. There, you see these patterns by people and then they repeat because they can't help themselves. And I find that disgusting. If I don't like you and who you are and what you're going to say, I'm going to tell it to you. I'm very direct that way. And people don't like that. And that's okay. Because I don't live for ufology or the UFOs. Frankly, I mean, I'm just going to say here once and for all, hey, everybody, I'm not that. I don't care about the aliens. I care about the humans. Okay. I don't care about your technology and your craft. I don't think you're going to do any good with it. I think that the knowledge of it is important in the same way that the knowledge of how the sun works or how black holes work is also important. It teaches us about what reality is and is not, and whether it is masked to us or not. But I am not particularly interested in, that reality of aliens or NHI, whatever you want to call them, UFOs, all of that stuff. It does not fascinate me. The problems we have are between and within us as human beings. And I have said multiple times in many different formats that the problems are us and the aliens will not save us. And I mean that. And so deception and control behind the scenes in this field is what exactly is holding us back. And then you look at Congress, and with some exceptions, such as I believe Tim Burchett is a very nice person. I think Representative Burleson is a really nice person.
Yep.
I think Senator Rounds is a very intelligent person who might be keeping some things from us.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm not that, this is not my jihad. My jihad is to try to make government better and to bring openness and accountability and transparency and ultimately cooperation. All of this should be for a cooperative approach to resolving a sociological, political, technological, and scientific phenomena. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about if trillions of dollars have been misallocated and funneled into essentially black, illegally run without proper oversight from Congress, and thus the people, the taxpayer? Again, this is a human issue, right?
Yes.
And so,
yes,
if we find out, because Rogan and Luna had a conversation, and I want to touch a little bit about something else that was said. But if we find out that people, do you support mass amnesty?
I personally do not.
I don't.
Okay, no. I can understand where people are, let's just forgive everybody and move on so that there's no. Well, I'm glad you feel passionate. That's nice.
Yeah.
But again, yes, no, I would not favor a mass amnesty for people. I can understand that, if you did the rough calculations, you say, well, if we forgive, 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people, I don't know how many people are behind all of this. Probably many are dead, it was lasted a long time and so on. But if we forgive them now, we will get the benefit of aliens and spaceships, and we will go send to the stars and all of that. No, you won't. You'll do what you've always done, which has been corrupt and ridiculous. So there must be accountability. And then when you think about the people who allege, and I believe there's some truth there. I haven't seen enough to bring a legal case, But to the people who allege that they were in programs or put them in very distressing positions and all this stuff, that, like the gay program, I don't know the truth of it, frankly, and I've got a lot on my plate, but I would, it's something of interest, let's say, and I'll continue to keep my eye on it. And I met some very nice people who are good people who say they were part of it. And I don't dispute them, but at the same time, they have to want to do more, and I have to have the
drive
evidentiary basis to do anything more. So I'm at a loss. I'm at a standstill. But I do. I think it would be absolutely wrong to compromise our ethics and also my morality, at least, to forgive people for harming others and deceiving the American people. No doubt, if there were trillions of dollars or hundreds of billions or whatever it is spent over time on Black programs, and there is a need for Black programs, because even the line item that you have, I'm not saying that Black programs don't have a place, but the fact that there seems to be nobody to account for whatever might be going on, and they deny any knowledge of this, rather than telling us at least the ontology, that we have some unique technology opportunities from craft that we, and of course I don't think they can, because once you open up that can of worms, everybody's going to want to know, where's the bodies, what are the craft, how long is this going on? But what? Yeah. I think that story should be told. I think we need to come clean. We do not need a review board to look at things and sanitize things and decide what comes in and out. We need accountable government from the people who are there right now. We need the Senate, the Congress, the House, the agencies, and the president, and the judiciary when necessary, to be true to its nature and its purpose. Find your own North Star. Absolutely. Give us whatever truth there is. America can handle the truth, as Lue Elizondo does say. And repeatedly said. And again, his philosophy is, I can't break the rules to make the rules. So he is a little different, I mean, maybe I'd be more Snowden-ish and go off tangent, and run to, I wouldn't run to Russia unless I could get myself in a room with Putin for about 5 minutes, 2 minutes and finish him. But, I mean death. I'm not a fan of Putin, and obviously for that reason, I'm also a big proponent of Ukraine as well as Israel. But I'm no fan of his policy in Ukraine. But and I'm not religious. I'm not religious. Just everyone to know, not religious.
Yeah, okay? No. I think
Catholic school. So whatever.
I don't think that has really a place for. Well, not that religion doesn't have a place in the field.
I think it does. I'm okay with religion. I'm not against it, unless you're throwing acid in girls' faces, or marrying off children, or stoning gay people, or suppressing voices, or banning music. That particular religion, I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah, and that, of course, is for a different topic. But it's something I am passionate about, and I know I talk about UFOs, and I talk about. But I also like talking about the geopolitics, and I do like getting into that. But I'm going to steer back a little bit.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. This is how it works. This is how a discussion works.
I'm not really sorry.
Thank you. I love it. Luna was on Rogan, made some headlines. It made some headlines, and she. While not directly referencing Elizondo, she had said something. Lue responded to it by showing some emails about. So essentially, you have the leader of the task force, right? The secrets task force, saying, "Okay, we're trying to bring these people in. They're talking a big game, but when we open the SCIF up, they're nowhere to be seen. They get SCIF flu." Okay, now that's the buzzword of the week. SCIF flu, and Lue, taking this to heart, whether it was about him or not, he steps out and says, "Listen, that's not what's happening here. That's not at all what's happening." So, and then Luna responds again, and so what is going on? What is going on? What's the truth? And what is your take on what's going on?
I know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
So first of all, let's go back. Representative Luna, at the end of the hearing last year in November, I think it was November 13th, where
I was there.
So was I. I was.
Oh
totally
yeah, yeah.
there.
I know. I saw you there. I was gonna bring that up,
People,
but
people made fun of me. They thought I was, they made fun of my tie. You guys don't know this, but Lou stole my tie. So that's why my tie was weird. And I like it. I love the guy. I mean, it's fine. But I understand I was extraordinarily tired. So when people were like, he looks like a lizard, I was like, yeah, I felt like sleeping at the time. I was
yeah,
tired.
we were all at like 4 a.m. outside, standing in the fucking cold weather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's tiring, Look, even after that hearing, instead of just being positive, she said Lue was there to sell books. All he said was in context that he had to have Dopser review things so that he could release certain information. It wasn't like he was saying, he didn't even name the book. I mean, if you're going to be a public, he could have brought the book. He could have waved it around. He could have said as, imminent. He didn't do that. And then she had the gall, the temerity to critique him, when he was very critical to bringing, to getting some of that, not all of that. I think there were others who were involved in getting that whole immaculate constellation,
we'll talk about that,
all that. So that was fine. Jeremy Corbell did great efforts. And I think, I love George Knapp. I appreciate the work that they've done. And, even if it may be different than what I would do, but I appreciate that. But that was really quite an insult, and Lue didn't take it personally. Lue is a very forgiving person, a very kind person. He wasn't huffing and puffing about it. He was like, "Gosh, that was weird. Why'd you do that?" But I said, "I don't know. Maybe that's what she took out of it. That's the last thing she heard. I don't know." So, and we were exhausted. I barely remembered it, but it was something that was noted, and it was a strange degree of sort of disregard for somebody who's, let's be clear here. Lue had to resign. Lue quit his job. And as a government employee, you don't, there's not always easy parallel paths to go. So he sacrificed for all these years in ways that people will maybe never find out. And I don't mean death threats or all that. I'm sorry. I've dealt with a lot of death, and, I'm sure he knows what he's talking about, but some of this, the whole sort of allusion to violence, I'm more skeptical about all of that, just because I personally haven't seen it, but whatever, might be true.
Yeah.
But he sacrificed a great deal of his time, energy, and everything, and made this event in some way, along with all the, you always stand on the shoulders of giants in moving things forward. So he's part of everything, but not everything, and he's humble about it. And for her to come out of that and say that was very strange and somewhat insulting, but he moved past it and he was happy, and then we moved forward, and there was this opportunity, I guess, to do a SCIF. And is there anything you want me to focus on? Because I can tell the entire story from my perspective, but if you have a specific question, please let me know.
No, continue. I definitely want to know why there's a complete dissonance or there's.
Yes. I will. I'm there. Well, there's only really one side, but Luna can have her side, as incomprehensible and incoherent as it is. So she is. I call her sometimes Princess Luna or Florida woman. It just depends on my mood.
Florida woman.
Yeah.
That might become a soundbite. I don't know.
Listen, I don't care. I could care less.
I love
people
it.
Are, right. All the UFO people are super like, oh God, don't say this to a senator or representative. I mean, I'm going to just tell you a funny story. I was at the UAPDF hearing, and one of the lawyers there saw me getting Eric Burleson's telephone number, because I was like, oh, I don't even remember why I was getting it. I just got it. And it turned out to be handy later. But anyway, and he texted me, of all people. But anyway, this was a long time.
Yeah, he actually sought me out too. It was weird.
Okay, good. He's a nice guy. He's a very, very nice person. I give him all credit for being a peacemaker and a thoughtful person and a sober person. So unfortunately, there were some snafus. But and this lawyer ran up to try to get the same number, because I was just bold enough it wasn't even bold. I was like, hey, what's your telephone number in case we need to reach you because remember, at that time, that was when the snafu had happened. So I was trying to, I had not engaged in all the setup for all of this crap, but then seeing how incompetent those people were at UAPDF, frankly, I decided to get somebody's number so I could say, hey, are we on? Because, it was a strange cancellation. So to go back, there was this idea of a SCIF. And frankly, Lue Elizondo was going to go there, I think really in a coordinating fashion rather than a testimonial one necessarily, that he was bringing people who he thought could be helpful to the task force from different agencies who have been working on this. That is as broad as I understood it, and I was fine. Lue asked me to present myself. I was willing to go. He had maybe, sometimes you have a concern based on his experience as to whether he would need a legal counsel at the time. I'm always happy to do that to whatever limited extent I can. It's going to be inside a SCIF. Unless there's some reason for me to be inside there that engages a legal topic, I had not been part of any of the planning, so I had not intended to be in any SCIF or anything like that, although if necessary, I'd certainly do so. But there's a process for that, which is, I think, pretty elaborate for a civilian. So
yeah, I was going to
anyway,
say, because
I'm a civilian.
You're a civilian, but you're an attorney for someone but you still don't have the clearance.
No. I have no clearances. And beyond that, I'm just telling you guys, and I know it's unbelievable to all of you, and everybody wants to be in the room where it happened or a fly on the wall. I have no interest in that at all. I don't care what these people say in their SCIF. I wish them luck, find the aliens, find the UFOs, find the government corruption. But I don't need to know that. I'm not sure what I would do with that information. What am I going to do? Knock on a hanger, Rambo style, and parachute in, and what am I going to do with this crap? So I'm like, go do what you're going to do. And if there's a legal component where I think there's any jeopardy or some pressure, I will certainly be there. So that was really it. I was very tired, had a lot of trial work the week before, but I said, okay, I'll fly in. I forget if I arrived the day before, Sunday or Saturday. I forget exactly when, but I flew in. And there was a lot of emails being back and forth. Now, I will say this right now. I was on a chain of emails, and David Grush was on those chains of emails. I still have them. And he was very persistent about qualifying who was going to be in the room and what their role was going to be, and if they had clearance and if their agency did this. And on one hand, I respected it because, you want to make sure that there's not a snafu, and somebody gets up to the door and it's like, I'm sorry, but you're not on the guest list. So I understood that. I did not know that it was his role in particular to be sort of the security guard for the SCIF, which is what he seemed to be making himself into. So I was strangely not impressed, let's say, by the degree of sort of, I'm going to be careful, but I would say I found it unusual how invested he was in making sure everybody who was there had a right and reason to be there. I didn't know that was his role, whether it was imposed, whether it was appointed. I had no idea. I thought that was handled through like the House Sergeant of Arms or the House Security Committee, but look, it's okay. I could care less. I was barely tracking those emails, except seeing multiple emails going back and forth amongst all those lunatics. And I got a weird feeling the week before that maybe something might not work out, or maybe a person might not be able to present because of this. And I just assumed, who knows? I was like, whatever. These people are very security conscious. I respect that. Let them get the right clearances. If he wants to invest his time in that, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
However, so there was that happened in the week prior. There was one thing that also happened that was very alarming to me. And I will just say that I've communicated that to Eric Burleson. And I will also say that there was an engagement that I found very inappropriate by the UAPDF people about Lue's testimony inside that SCIF. Beyond that, I will not go further, but they have the information at least. And it was coercive, and I found it extraordinarily inappropriate. And I mean it. And I am happy to go and give and testify under oath, not before the Luna, screw her. But if need be, I am more than willing to go under oath and polygraph or whatever it is. It's usually under oath. I'm an attorney. I have bar licenses. There's things in jeopardy. But I found there were some very inappropriate communications. And I do not like the people at UAPDF, except for Chris Mellon, who's a very decent human being. But the rest I have no communication with and would never speak to them again. So there was a tremendous, I chewed people out at UAPDF, and I told them if they ever did that, because it was infringing upon my professional duties. It was trying to coerce me to coerce Lue on behalf of I won't even say. Suffice it
Okay.
to say, Burleson has that information, and I'm
So-
done with it. So that was
Is that why Lou and Matt left?
I don't know why Matt left. I think he wanted to work on his podcast. I think he maybe felt his role. I don't know. I wasn't a part of UAPDF. They wanted me to be, and we can tell that story another time.
Okay.
But I refused because I began to get inklings, frankly, that they were really trying to control things. They're a bunch of control freaks, except for Chris Mellon. Seems like a decent human being, honorable person. But I'm not going to prevent. I am going to come out and say my truth. So.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they're horrible, and not everybody, not the board member. Well, let's say
You don't
that,
have to. Yeah, you don't have to get into it. But
I'm not
I
gonna
get
indulge
what you're
in
saying.
But some of those people, their behavior was abhorrent to me, to the point where it crossed my mind that if some of this had been in writing, but we can elicit the testimony and emails and so on and details, that I would be moving for a bar complaint against somebody. So I was extraordinarily angry that anybody would try to coerce. It's different when you try to, give some information, but this was coercive, and I will never have that again.
Right.
I will never let that happen again. One thing you cannot do with me is try to get me to coerce my client to do anything he or she does not want to do. That's never going to work for you.
Right.
And I will never be controlled by that. I'm a lawyer for a reason. I'm not here for ufology. I'm here to be an actual lawyer. I go to trial. I stand before judges. I do the right thing within reason. And I don't represent, so I try to represent people, even with their flaws, as best I can. And I'm not talking about Lou, I'm just talking generally. So anyway.
So with that,
SCIF.
yeah.
Let's just go. Let's just tell the whole story and be done with it. SCIF's supposed to happen April 29. Get an email. I flew in. I think, maybe it was the same day. I don't know. But anyway, get an email. I didn't even look at it. That the meeting had been canceled, and I didn't know why. We were given a very banal reason, that there was some legislative snafu and so on. Okay. And that was fine. If that had been it and had been true, I would have been like, well, that's weird. This seems very surprising, because you would know your legislative schedule, but things do change in Congress at a moment's notice, and we have to be flexible. So I was disappointed, but I'm like, I'm not going in the SCIF. I don't even know what's going on. I don't care that much. And I'm not here to be associated with people who want to be in a SCIF, right? I'm not the person who wants to hang out in the room or next to people. This is all garbage to me. So I just said, look, fine, no big deal. Then within a day or two, Representative Luna actually told someone, it might've been Matt Laszlo or somebody else, that the reason the SCIF had been canceled was because Dave Grush did not have a security clearance.
I remember this.
Well, wait a minute. Why didn't you tell us that in the first place? Dave Grush, why did you invite all these people to this event if the primary reason, did you think he was going to get his security clearance? Did you, what's going on here? Now, there may have been other reasons too, legislative reasons, maybe some personal reasons. I don't know. And frankly, I don't care, because ultimately I would have been happy to say, well, things didn't work out. Let's go tour around DC. I met a nice person for lunch. It was fine. It was fine,
Right.
The problem is that after that, there was the UAPDF show, whatever you want to call it, on that Thursday.
Yeah, the presentation.
I'll just tell you, I don't want to go into all the details again, but Lou was run ragged. There was a dinner the night before. It was planned by those nitwits. It lasted until almost 11 p.m. I will tell you, as a person who actually puts people up on the stand, I do not tell them to do anything that, do not stay up to 11 o'clock at night if you have to perform at, the next day.
Following day.
Deposition, get some sleep, eat what you like. If you work out first, take a walk. There's things you do to get people eased into things.
That's actually a good point.
Oh, it was insane.
That's actually a
insane.
good point that I didn't even think of before.
It was actually quite sad.
So it was keep them up till 11 drinking.
He wasn't drinking. He was drinking water, and he was, no, he wasn't drinking to my knowledge.
He has a right to, but I'm saying
I had a drink.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking. Sure.
But I'm saying, but the night before
geez,
there was a thing that goes till 11, and you would assume that
Look, it was probably a nice, people thought it would be a nice opportunity to talk and all that. But I mean, this is game time, guys. You don't like, if the UAPDF people were like, we're the geniuses in the room. Meanwhile, they're doing something completely asinine and scheduling this guy for an insane schedule to where I have no idea. And then to drive starting at 10:30 or 11 back to, where his house was, or his kids, whatever it was. I mean, my God, it was nuts. And he dropped people off, including ourselves. I mean, I felt bad for him. I felt bad for myself, but I assumed it was fine. And, some people operate well on tremendous being tired. I don't know. They seem to overperform. So it was strange. And there were some very strange experiences at that dinner. There was a lot of testifying, which I also found extraordinarily self-serving and disgusting. And I'm not going to even get into that. And I don't care about those people. I would just tell you there was a lot of weird stuff. There were also some great people. I thought, there were some really nice people too. Eric Davis was a gentleman and very interesting and fun. And, I briefly talked to them. I talked to some very nice people, but there were also people who were, I just described them as sycophants, and I don't like them. So Lue came out of that the next day. We went to that event. Lue was extremely tired. There was the photo issue, which I did not know a damn thing about it. Just like, frankly, I didn't know recently about all this stuff on Twitter. I saw it like everybody else. I'm not, what you all think is some sort of like, I'm his handler, or like I'm Tom Cruise's agent, you nitwits. I'm a lawyer. I don't have time to be tying his shoe or, and he doesn't need me for that. He's an adult human being. So I'm not his, his handler. I'm certainly not somebody who's going to impose your thinking upon him. I am here to act on his behalf in a legal capacity to the degree he wishes, and that is it.
So the photo thing, I actually wasn't even going to touch that. But I mean, could you at least agree that probably wasn't the best decision? And but maybe it does. Maybe it was just a bad, like you said, out late the night before. Had the
he was asked to hype. The UAPDF didn't have money, and he was asked, frankly, to hype their organization, hype the event. We need hype because they're always desperate for money. There is a degree to which this grifting.
I mean,
is
fund is literally in the name.
Right. Well, I mean, they had to name it that. And they're a 50C3, 50C4, I believe, which is collecting money to give to people, to influence people. So they're a lobbying organization, essentially, although they claim no to do lobbying, whatever. We'll see. But yeah, so they, so he holds up this photo. I agree the photo was, I thought it was a water tank or something. Cause I've flown over the Southwest. I used to live in Phoenix. I'm flying around all the time. It looked like a water tank. I don't know. But what is a UFO supposed to look like on the ground from above? Maybe like a water tank. Like I fucking don't know what these things look like. And I don't care. I think he was just encouraged to be provocative by these morons. He was tired and exhausted because of their particular schedule. I think he was curious about the photo. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he, I really don't know. But I'd never seen it. But his point was, again, is anybody with any reason could see, was simply to say, look, guys, there's photos that commercial pilots and other people get. We should have a place that's probably not Arrow to resolve all of that stuff. I had been under the misimpression that actually the FAA or somebody had like a center for sending in anomalous photos. I thought that had already been done, but I believe that's not correct. I believe that turned out to be not true. So as I was sitting there, I was like, gee, I thought there was already this, but I understood the point of it, and he meant it with the best of intent. He wasn't trying to discredit the field or himself. Obviously, he was just extremely tired, trying to be, get some notorieties done. And, then you had all this stuff with the, Eric Davis and the 4 different
aliens. That was wild.
It was. I was really surprised that no major media was like, wait a minute, what are you saying here? I mean, it was really weird.
And let me ask you, because again, you're not, you're self admitted that you're not really one for like, you don't, the research.
I don't care about your aliens.
Right. But now there is something called the Wilson. Do you know about the Wilson Davis memo?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So you do know about, so a guy who writes allegedly, because still, I don't know why he wasn't asked right then and there, bro, did you write these notes? Let's confirm it right now. Because if so, there's a lot of, I mean, if that meeting actually happened and is document, and if he would say under some sort of congressional, I thought for sure that that's what we were going to get, but instead he's talking about a species of aliens, and
Sure.
I feel like we went from it went from very nuts and bolts to very not nuts and bolts very quickly.
Look, I was, I didn't have listen, there was no preparation in any run through that I could tell. There was no run through for the event that I was participant of or two. I know that they made efforts to, get the room. They screwed up the sound, but that's understandable because of, technical difficulties happen under the best of circumstances. They happened just a while ago on this show, but yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what the intent was. I wasn't responsible for the organization. Generally speaking, I thought the strategy behind it was strange as a participant. I was just seeing it, because you have a mishmash of here's a photo and here's aliens and all this crap. And then, Avi Loeb, and he was very interesting to listen to, but he went on quite a bit. And I was like, wow, is he going? I didn't know. I thought he was just going for 20, I thought everybody was going to be on for 10, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, but he went on at length, and it was actually very interesting. And I have, he's a very interesting and very charming person,
Yeah.
So
something.
well, I mean, maybe you don't like him, but
no, didn't say that. Didn't say
okay,
that.
Listen,
I just had him here. He was just.
Oh,
in the
okay.
chair.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No.
So I apologize to you and Avi Loeb. I have no discredit towards him. And also, he's a very nice person. So, so I didn't understand the strategy of the event, but it seemed to be, typically a mishmash of ideas and people, and that was it. And I actually left around right after Lou held the photo up. I for no reason but coincidence, I took a break. There was a break, and I got out of the room. I think I might have left on camera. I don't know, because I needed to catch a plane. And frankly, I just wanted to go. I was tired. I was unhappy with those people and the way it was organized and all the stress and what they communicated to me the week before on behalf of a lunatic. So I was just not having it. And I just rolled out, got my suitcase, went to the airport, had a beer, and worked on legal work. And then it got even weirder on the plane, but because of the snafu of the photo and some idiotic communications with those dummies. So anyway, and those will all, if necessary, to come out, but I don't care. I'm just sick of these people. So ultimately, what happened is all of that ended, and I didn't know much about it other than there was a issue of the photos. Now I can understand where UAPDF, for example, and did not want to at the time issue any positive statement about Lou because maybe they didn't agree with him putting up the photo, or it was too impromptu, or it led to they didn't like it, and I get it. And I think Lou regretted showing it because he hadn't vetted it. Although his point again was that it was an exemplar of anything. He could have held up a rubber ducky and said, "Look, here's a rubber ducky. Let's find out what it is." It was just meant in good spirit. But in this UFO world, everything you do is micro. You're under a microscope, and unfortunately, it's very unfortunate. So then this idea came about, and again, I was not part of the logistics of it. That they were going to redo this SCIF, and that's fine. Okay, things can be redone. Why not? Sure. Okay. I may not be able to attend it, but it doesn't seem like a big deal, or maybe I could have, I personally wasn't, I was just thinking, I don't know if I want to come back to sit outside a room and just be around these lunatics. And then at some point, and I don't know exactly when it was, Luna said that these people had the SCIF flu. Now, Joe Murgia came up with something where I think he said he had a post where he was very specific about exactly what Luna said, but it was very clearly that she was implying that Lue Elizondo was sick or avoidant in some way. She didn't really mean really sick. If a person had been really sick, you wouldn't say, well, he just got diagnosed with cancer, he's got SCIF flu. No, it was really intended to condemn him for failing to appear at her beck and call with 3 days notice. And I mean, what? That's not the way it works. Maybe for you lunatics in UFO land, you're like, some unemployed idiot in Oregon's like, I would have left everything, dropped everything to go testify before Congress because I've been, go fuck yourselves. That's not how it works. You got to be real. And you're part of a professional institution. I mean, you're part of an organization that's supposed to be the leadership of our country. That's not how you coordinate meetings. I'm sorry if you don't know how to do it. I have a paralegal who could do better than you. Okay.
So you're saying there was a lot of misconceptions about how this has gone down.
No, not misconceptions.
Lies.
No. Yes. So they attributed. So she stupidly, impulsively, and incorrectly maligned Lue and implied that he was the one that caused this snafu. And then she went on Rogan and did it again. She doubles down. Why attack Lue Elizondo? The guy has voluntarily come. He is a volunteer witness. He's a volunteer coordinator. He's a volunteer of all of this. He does not make money from this. He does not even get his expenses repaid, except occasionally if an organization will repay it. Okay, but other than that, he does not profit from this. So he is a volunteer to come before the Congress, and she sent him under the bus, never asked never said anything about David Grush, never, if you're implying that, Christopher Mellon didn't show up, I'm sorry, but he was probably not feeling well too, and maybe legitimate, a real issue.
Right.
And I don't talk about the medical stuff. I'm just saying people get sick, they get colds, they're not feeling that well. That's life, right? So they said that Lue was the guy who was essentially avoidant of testifying or giving information or participating in a SCIF. Nothing could have been further from the truth. The date they chose was extraordinarily inconvenient. It's not just flying from Wyoming. He had a commitment. I think near that same time. He's been traveling. He's exhausted. I mean, you cannot just tell people, show up, I'm the princess, and that's what you need to do. That's wrong. Right. And then at that point, also, let's get into two other points. First of all, why should I have great confidence you're going to not do it again? You did it the first time. You didn't tell us the real reason, which apparently was Dave Grush had some security clearance issue. So, well, did he get his security clearance fixed by mid-May? Then if he didn't, why did you cancel in April? So nobody is asking these questions. They don't hold themselves to account. If the office of Luna or Burleson or any of those people who are responsible for this had just come forward and said, look, we screwed up. There were legislative considerations that were extremely important for us. Some people are sick. Things get continued. We're sorry, but we like these people. We will invite them back at a time where it works out for everybody. We apologize for a variety of snafus. Everything will be fine. Let's do it again. Right. Instead, Representative Luna, on her own initiative,
comes out
swinging at Lue Elizondo for no reason. And if she has a reason, tell us. But now, and then of course she's like as dumb as a rock and says, oh, well, I didn't put that it was Lue Elizondo, you idiot. Well, so I'm not having it with her.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, because she made the comment about, and you know what, I don't defend one person or another, and I'm not that type of, I don't take sides, but I will say that she mentioned, okay, no, he wanted to, like, the person got SCIF flu, they wanted to sell books, but didn't come. I mean, she could have only been talking about Elizondo. And actually, if you watch Rogan's interview with Lue Elizondo, he repeatedly does say, and I will give him this, he repeatedly does not, he says, I'm not here to promote the book. I'm here to talk to you. So, I mean,
look, whenever you're on national media, you are promoting something, your brand, your book, your something. I mean, let's not look, Lue's a good person. And, if I was on Rogan and I had a book or a frying pan, I'd probably be promoting it. But, he really is in there with the intent of telling America, this is an issue you need to pay attention to. I'm only going to tell you up to a certain point because I believe I have commitments to the government. And if those are relieved, I will tell more than I can, more. But that's it. He's just that guy. He's not going to go. He will not break the rules to remake the rules. Sorry you don't like that. Go find a Snowden to do that. Who cares? But that's not him. So real simple. Anyway, so she went out of her way to attack him. Now, she is a politician. She's popular. She's always showing herself, with Trump or with more prominent people. She's always a firebrand. She's always claiming, Biden, who's close to dead, is responsible for this, and Hillary this, and Obama this. Meanwhile, she's supposed to be the get Epstein. We're going to change everything. Meanwhile, she's like, oh, I don't know. Epstein's fine because no longer convenient. I find she has absolutely no principles, and I don't find her very smart. So that's what she did. She did the worst thing, to try to ruin intentionally the life of somebody who's just trying to help. I mean, my God, how incompetent. But, frankly, because of what happened in the week prior to the April 29 thing, I can tell you that somebody wanted Lue Elizondo to be subpoenaed. I was literally told that he would, that he could get subpoenaed. I was like, who gives a shit? I deal with subpoenas every day, you clowns.
Right.
So look, here's the reality. There are some really terrible people who have no courage. And by the way, you APDF people, you didn't even come out and say anything nice about Lue. You could have easily come out and said, hey, this was a snafu. It wasn't Lue Elizondo's fault. But because they were trying to distance themselves from the photograph, they were just like quiet as mice. No support for him. Back, just letting him hang out to dry as if he had SCIF flu. That was disgusting. You have no courage. You have no principles. I don't respect you.
Yeah.
So,
I think, well, thank you for clearing that up, because I mean,
did I?
I think you did.
All right. Well, I'm done with it, but I will just say this. Look, Lue Elizondo is more than willing to present himself to Congress. Frankly, I would not advise him. My personal advice, and he's hearing it and he's heard it before, is that I would not do anything with Luna that isn't public, because I don't trust her the way he's been treated. But he feels otherwise. He is still willing to present himself to a SCIF, to do so, and to give. I personally think he'll come out of there and she'll smash him anyway. She'll say he was unhelpful, didn't have the information, was reticent. And remember, he can't give anything in a SCIF until he is cleared by certain agencies. Just because a member of Congress wants to know something doesn't mean they can infringe the rights of the executive. You can't be like, hi, I'm Florida woman representative. I want to know who our agents are in Poland. Come in here and give me all the names of the agents in Poland. No, you got to go to the CIA or to the, FBI, whoever the hell you have to go to. Right. You got to go to somebody.
It doesn't give you a blanket need to know.
Yeah, it doesn't give you the right to just know anything. But you want to exchange your pies. So she went ahead. So anyway, listen, bottom line comes down to Lue is always willing to go in a public setting. If he wants to go in a SCIF, I'm going to accompany him. But make no mistake, I'm coming as a lawyer. Subpoena all you want. I could care less. And challenge accepted, lady, because you've done harm to people. You're scared. When I read and hear these reports that the whistleblowers are rolling out, not wanting to testify, I'm like, of course not. I mean, based on our experience, why would you? You'll be lambasted. You'll be set aside. So of course it's a clown show, and she's the head of the task force. Can you imagine such incompetency? No, I'm not the nice guy. Lue is the nice guy. He'll always be the nice guy. He's probably too nice for his own good, but I'm not the nice guy. And people who know that when I'm not the nice guy, it's not nice. So yeah.
Understood. I mean, and listen, I'd be, if I was in that position, and if everything, if that's how it went down, I'd be pissed too. And I was going to ask, if you had a whistleblower and, would you send them to Congress? Like, would you feel safe sending them to Congress at this point, to Luna? And you answered obviously with the no. It would have to be more public. So that's so.
I think. Look. Listen. I don't know if I'm the one who coerced her into issuing her first subpoena in this area, but if I have, good. I think the task force should issue subpoenas, but I think they should grab Colonel Nell. I think they should grab James Lukatsky. I think they should grab other people David Grush. I think they should grab them all and do it.
And the 40 hostile witnesses that
right.
Grush
The one person they subpoena is going to be the one person who's been coming to Congress for 7 years. You moron! I mean, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
so look, look.
That is weird, actually.
Of course it's weird. Why not look for behind the crevices? Why not look behind the couch? Maybe that's what you just can't. It's incredible. It is so disappointing. So anyway.
I have, it's ironic that you just brought. So there's been online discussion. There's been discussion for quite some time now, including, including Lue to a degree, about this idea of the date, the year 2027, end of the world. And listen, I know I want you to be able to rear back on this one, because there are people who are saying they're becoming concerned because people are telling them, the world is going to end. Chris Bledsoe says that the Sphinx and the
sure.
Star of Regulus are going to align, and humans will go through a transformation. And
oh God, it's like the show The Leftovers or some weird shit.
Right. So there's been a lot of this kind of stuff out there, and lately, it's kind of taking a turn towards like this apocalyptic scenario. What's going on?
Listen, I have heard all the dates. I mean, I don't know all the dates, but first of all, let me just point out for your audience a problem I have. Let's say somebody came to you and I said to you, hey, I have some bad news. Something's going to happen in 2027. Or let's go back to 9/11, right? Okay. Let's say somebody came up to the CIA or FBI and said, guys, something's going to happen. In this case, they did, right? It was a bad analogy, right? But let's say somebody came and said something's going to happen, right? Wouldn't you want to know, like, more precisely? Somebody came up to me and said, hey guys, we're going to have some terrorists. They're going to jump in some planes and we're getting a lot of chatter. I would be like, can you tell me at least if it's going to be on a Tuesday? Can you tell me if it's going to be on a federal holiday? Do I have to do a guessing game? So this idea of 2027 is so asinine, or any of these dates. Whoever is the genius behind all of these dates, or any single one of them, could you be more precise? I assume if it is a comet, a meteor, the sun blowing up, ghosts showing up in our dimension, whatever, you would know it would be, it's going to be August 12th at 2:32 p.m. I guess I'll cancel my appointment, And I don't see any behaviors of anybody acting differently than they should be unless they anticipate living a long and prosperous life. I just am finishing the build of a duplex. I put a metal roof on it so it could last 100 years or 50 years. I'm planning for next year. I've set trial dates. Lue Elizondo's up at a bar and trying to do a business so he can help the people in his community, because it's a small town and it needs more business and employment. None of these people are acting like it's the end of the world. So I don't know where it comes from. Certainly, I probably asked people about various dates. I got to tell you, I'll give one thing, but one funny story I had is somebody, and they didn't really, I don't remember if they gave me a date, but I do remember they were telling me some weird story about like a blue planet with blue souls, or I don't even know what it was. It was super weird. But the guy was a nice guy. I'm not trying to be mean to him. I'm just saying, I've heard all these weird stories and I don't put one bit of faith on them. What's happened is unfortunately, there's a particular person, a guy named Jonathan Davies, who I believe is a lunatic idiot who's the head of Unhidden, and has a board member in Jay Stratton, who certainly hates me for certain reasons. And and Jay, if you're out there, you know what I mean. I'm just telling you that these lunatics go behind the scenes, and people have told me many times that I've been discredited, said to be an intelligence agent, said to be, disingenuous, and he'd be, I don't even know what the rumors are. They're so weird. I'm an alien. I mean, these people are such they're such nerds. I just can't help it. I don't mind nerds, but they're just so weird. They're trolls. They're disgusting. And so, do I believe there's any date of impending apocalypse? Please don't call me. I've had people call me in the nicest ways and trying to ask me, guys, is there something happening? There's nothing happening that I know. I do
I
think
was
we have
gonna-
to worry. I do think we have to worry about a new COVID variant or, bird flu. I think we have to worry about Putin deciding, he's the king of the world and destroying everything. I have to worry about Taiwan. I think we have to worry about Islamic jihadism in Pakistan and maybe a bomb going Iran or a dirty bomb. I think we have to worry about genetically modified organisms. Perhaps, there's a lot of things we really have to worry about prosaic. And certainly the drones are very, very curious. I think we have to switch our immediate attention to them. But I do not think there is any apocalyptic event. I think that's garbage. But I would just say that if there were an apocalyptic date, and if anybody were spreading that rumor, and if that rumor were presented to Congress, it would be Colonel Call now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you are not messaging, you're not talking about any dates.
Let me be extraordinarily clear again. There is no date I am aware of, right? No date, not even a year that I have any reason to believe at all there is any apocalyptic event forthcoming. Okay, none, zero, no date, no doom. I know you like it because it gives meaning to your lives or some fascination or reify that the aliens are going to come and I'm going to be transported to, to visit my grandparents in the past or whatever the fuck you stupid thing. But there is no dates of apocalypse. And I don't believe in any of it. I think it's weird. I'm not saying it's not possible because I have to accept there are always a possibility that maybe something could happen. And so, for example, if Dr. Ravia Roel's work is true, that there are these transients and, I'm going to give it a possibility that, that anything is possible. And we have had, remember, I don't know how long ago, but there was a comet that hit over, a meteor comet. I don't know what it was.
It hit Russia, dude.
Russia,
It was
not the Tunguska one, but it was the other one that was, 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, there's video of it.
Right. And I'm sure somebody would have liked to have known. I think people got hurt, but
yeah.
But so there are things like that should worry us.
Wouldn't that be just the most ironic? We're the new year 2027 hits and a month later, we find out like, oh shit, we're going to get smacked by this.
Look, if you believe that, then please sell me your stocks at 10% of value and we'll be
the biggest irony is if it really did happen and it, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden we're just like, fuck, maybe we shouldn't have, maybe we shouldn't have willed this into existence.
Oh, please. I think that's all nonsense. Look, if there's advanced species out there coming to visit, why would you come and destroy like the ants? I find it just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, no.
Look, so, and if there's something, there could always be a meteor, a comet, or whatever these things are flying around. We found one traversing recently through the solar system, quite large. I don't think it's, it's not coming our way, but I think there's I think what's going on here is the psychology of people want some doom to innervate them and so on. But that's my hypothesis. I don't see any reason to panic about anything. I think these are just the rumor mill. And, they've always tried, these lunatics online try to malign me. They want me to stay quiet, but I've, and honestly, it's only because I've honored Lue, who generally turns the other cheek, never says anything negative about anyone. Even with Luna, he was quite respectful and wanted to make peace. And he was just saying, look, here's the truth. He inadvertently, some of the emails were released, but that's public stuff anyway. It's silly. But there is no peace to be had. And because at least I don't see any indications from Representative Luna that she wants to actually communicate directly. She's always like, my phone number is there. It's like, what? What you can get Lue's phone number in 10 seconds.
Right.
Well,
I think there are bad actors in Congress because I know that after the November hearing, I specifically walked one of the nuclear witnesses, Bob Salas. I walked him into Nancy Mace's office, who chaired that very hearing that we both sat through. And I have her on camera saying that she was going to fight for a UFO and nukes hearing. And the next week, literally the next week, she's battling the trans community and loses all credibility with normal people because no one wants to engage her now. But I think that that hearing was a way to gather certain, it was a way to red team certain people.
Look, I don't
That's
know
my
about
only-
that. You're welcome to have it. I don't have any opinion about Mace. I don't know
I do.
that that's, and that's fine. I mean, it's a mixed issue on that, but all I can say is, the reality is that Lue is a good person, happy to work with whoever wants to work with him. You have to just be reasonable, provide regular notice. I suspect I would love him to be compensated at least for his expenses, but he's eaten it before. I guess he could eat it again. But because he doesn't get a congressional stipend to travel and live and all that crap, go back and forth from Florida and cause chaos. But I'm not here to roll over and say, that this is an equal, that this is just a snafu and it's, equally wrong by both sides. This is 100% wrong by Luna. She's intemperate. She slams everybody. Her brand is to make everybody terrible, to show herself with guns. It is really unfortunate. And it's not because I hate Republicans. I'm kind of probably a Reagan Republican. I don't know if there's probably 7 of us left in the country.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Yeah.
So, I don't love the Democrats and a lot of their policies, although I do like some of them, of course. And, but regardless, this has been she is responsible. She has to take responsibility. She's the head of the task force for however long that lasts. And to threaten a witness with a subpoena, first of all, it's no threat. And I think she has very limited chances of ascertaining anything because she comes with such bad will. When you bring people into a meeting, you don't threaten them to bring them in. Do you understand this? I mean, does nobody get it? You don't lambast people when you want their cooperation. No, I don't care about Luna's cooperation or thoughts or beliefs or anything else. I'm not afraid of her. I don't respect her. I don't like what she's done. And I tell it to her face. And if we're in a public hearing, she's got me to deal with too. So, the reality of it is this is absolute insanity. And it really begs the question of what the hell is going on. Clearly there is some situation happening with UAP, UFOs, possibly NHI. There's some there. I am with you. By a preponderance of the evidence, 51%, maybe even 70%. All right. I'm with this idea that there's an investigation that needs to be had, but it can't be with these incompetent people. And Dave Grush is not one of the people. I am sorry. Get lawyers, get assistant U.S. attorneys, get real attorneys to pursue and get subpoenas issued and hold a kind of a church commission or something where they can investigate the truth. It's not that I don't think Dave Grush has told important truths, but my experience with him behind the scenes has been very negative. Okay. And I made that very clear. Very clear. Don't ever try to mess with me and my client.
Understood. Yeah. No, and I think I think at least the way, you represent Lue, I think it's, I think there's a big battle there. It's not a big battle, but it is a big task to come into this and kind of be exposed to all of it one of the highest levels. Again, he is a very well-known person. Do you remember? I'm not sure if he filled you in on some of the post 2017 stuff, but do you remember To the Stars Academy?
Sure.
Okay. So I got not a viewer question, but a viewer question. But in 2017, Tom DeLonge stood on stage and said, "We are going to be building one of these things to entice investors. Mr. Elizondo was a member of this organization. I'm not saying that he is responsible. Have they encountered any issues with the SEC about an effort like this? And what do you think about the claims that this was more of a techno scam?
I have no opinion upon To the Stars Academy. I don't know about their financial, whatever was going on. I know, I will say that Lue, left, became a part of that, moved. His tenure there was cut short. He suffered greatly. I don't think intentionally. I don't know, but it was not a positive experience. I don't think it was ultimately positive. I think there were many good people. It just didn't work out. And, that's all I know about it. I don't know. I've heard, I was watching somebody, I don't recall who. It was a speech by Hal Puthoff. I watched it. Somebody linked to it. I was like, oh, curious to watch it. And it was an okay speech about, from 2018 or something about it mentioned To the Stars Academy and some efforts that they were making. I don't know what their thinking was. I don't know what it was about. I could just say that whatever managerial fiduciary duties that were owed to that company and its investors has zero to do with the Lue Elizondo. So to that extent, I don't know, he was just an employee, and unfortunately when it collapsed, I think he suffered a lot. But other than that, I don't really have any information.
Okay. And that's absolutely fair. Beyond, the legal and political battles, what's the human toll of working in the UFO disclosure space as an attorney, and how has this journey affected you personally? What drives you to keep pushing forward alongside Lue in such a high stakes mission?
I appreciate your question. I think that's your characterization of it, and I understand why you frame it that way. I'm a little different. I'm happy being an attorney, a litigator. I have investments, I have properties, I have a business partner who's wonderful. I have a wonderful wife and family. I'm curious. I like to read. I like to, do martial arts. When my body allows it, I went kickboxing today. Got punched in the face a couple of times.
Love it.
Yeah. So, I love it. I'll watch the UFC tonight, and talk with one of my friends. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to go with DDP. Chimaev's a beast too, but I'm going to go, but look,
I'm with you.
But the bottom line is no, there's so many things to do in life. This is not these UFO people all in some way see themselves ending up is the architect of ufology or the lawyer for ufology or the this or for that. I don't see that at all. I think this is a government problem, a scientific problem, a social problem, political problem, a media problem. And we need to approach it thoughtfully and resolve it. So for me, I'm going to go about living my life. I'm happy to represent individuals as needed. But I'm not going to compromise myself and my integrity as an attorney, as well as just as a human being, on the altar of aliens. If they want to visit with me, I'm happy to do so. But the only people, by the way, who bothered the hell out of me in this field have been the people in it, not the aliens. And and to that extent, frankly, this is. Even though it seems like the stakes are high because there's an ontology and a science behind it that would have tremendous implications for humanity.
Yeah.
Again, I do not feel the humans are particularly prepared. They're not good enough to, the aliens are going to fix this. So I go back to fix ourselves and learn the science and figure out what's going on. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Maybe instead of looking out, we need to start looking in.
Right. Look in, be a better person, tell the truth, stop letting the jackasses out there control who you talk to, what your narrative is, what you say. Stop judging people so quickly. Stop telling people that you're going to subpoena them, you nitwit. Just be a decent human being. There are some decent human beings, but there's few and far between, unfortunately. And there's a lot of people who compromise their ethics and will not tell truth to power, despite being educated and having read all the right books. They will not do so because fundamentally they want something out of this because they have some sort of hollow emptiness. I come in with a full life. I leave with a full life. So I'll represent the people who want representation in whatever way. When there's an actual legal issue in front of me, I'll attack it as I need to. And to the extent that Representative Luna has created a legal issue, well, she's going to get one back. And I'm going to say, if you're going to subpoena Lue, there are other people to subpoena as well.
Like, and you named, so like I said, let's go. Jim Lakatsky, who opened.
Oh, I don't. By the way, the only reason I say James Lakatsky is because I heard him on Weaponized.
Weaponized, yeah. But
I mean, I never was like, why isn't everybody like going, wait, hey, dude, come back? If you can get a subpoena, Luna, why don't you ask the guy who said he went inside of, or there was something about being inside of a UFO that somebody
That's
got.
What I'm fucking talking about. It
yeah,
makes
they're not.
logical
Listen,
sense.
I have plenty of other people I could point to, but I don't know these people and what they did in reality and what their roles are. And I'm sure there's bunches of people that would be who where you could actually learn information at an operational level. However, I think all of them, if they are part of the national security in any way, need to get clearance. And if not that, you have a battle between, you're going to have a battle between the Congress and the executive. But, to Congress saying appropriately, hey, we want these people to tell us their truth. The executive saying, no, that's executive privilege. The unitary executive don't get to learn that. And then we have to have that debate. And by the way, I mean, nobody holds, Congress has done jack shit. And Luna, you've done nothing except threaten Lue Elizondo with a subpoena. I mean, this is insane. How are we going to get to the bottom of this? Use your power for good. This is not the good. You've just decided to lambast somebody because you were on Joe Rogan. And poor Joe Rogan, I mean, he's got all his curiosities and, he doesn't know. And he entertains these people, and he's.
And obviously she's easy on the eyes and it definitely works in her favor.
It really grosses me out when people are like, oh God, because I heard people say, oh, she's so pretty. She's so pretty. I mean, I was in a room and there were people telling me how attractive she was. And I'm sure she loves to hear it, but you're not there as the maximum representative of
You're there
Florida.
As the representative of Florida, not
right. You're there to be a decent human being and stop punishing everybody who has a different view of life. I don't agree with Biden particularly, or Hillary, or I liked Obama, but I don't agree with with many of the Democrat platforms. But I'm not going to impose upon them that they're terrible people. Maybe they were. There could be wrongs that were done, but this is not the way to proceed. And not to do it to people you're inviting to an event to give you information to help you do whatever it is you believe your job is.
Yeah.
I don't know what she thinks her job is. She's taken on a wide compass. So far, I don't know what she's resolved. Maybe she has had some successes. I'm not a particularly, I like JFK's ideas and his speeches, and he's handsome, and it was the Camelot and all that. I love that. And if he was assassinated by CIA or something like that, that's extraordinarily unfortunate and important to the historical record. All that said is true. But, the UAP issue to me and the drone issue are right now. And they've been set on the back burner, and you've lambasted the people who came willingly on their own dime often to do the right thing for your own publicity benefit. I will see you soon.
Wow. One last thing, because we overshot the time here.
Sure.
But I'm having such a good time. I mean, this is wonderful. But she also made a claim, and I don't want to make this about Luna. I really don't. But since it's here, she made a claim about interdimensional beings in the same breath as this whole SCIF flu thing. And she said she has seen, she saw evidence that suggested that these things were interdimensional. If she has that kind of evidence somewhere, how do we, the people, or someone like yourself who is, biting at the champion, how do we get that stuff out? I mean, you can't just go on an internationally syndicated, the biggest podcast in the world, and say you've seen evidence of interdimensional beings that operate outside of space and time, and then just move on. I mean, that's a fucking huge claim.
Is there a way these interdimensional beings can take her with them? Look, I don't know. What
I would
she's
hate to be. I would hate to be an attorney fighting you in a courtroom.
Some have said,
Ew.
generally speaking, with opposing counsel, I'm very, very polite, and we try to work together when I can, if they're reasonable. That's the best way to do it. And we're here to fight for truth, not for just fighting for our egos or whatever it happens to be. There's a bit of that, of course, but that's
Amen.
not who I am.
Amen.
Look, I don't know what she's talking about, interdimensional beings. I don't think she could, I have no interest. I mean, that's an interesting idea. She's prone to provocative claims. She finds herself as an attention-seeking person. Whatever evidence, that would require some significant understanding. I have no knowledge of that. If there are interdimensional beings, I don't know really what good that does it. I'm not, I've only I exist in the 4 dimensions right now. And that's it. So that's all that I know. I'm not against the possibility, and it's very interesting, but I do not trust her to transmit, whether there were jelly beans in a in a jar. I'm sorry. I have no interest in what she has to say. I don't believe any of it. Wherever her sources are probably in an office next door or something, who knows? Right. And I have just I just can't take her seriously. Again, she could have the secret for all the UFOs, somewhere in Florida. There's a lot of weird people there, but but I don't accredit that with anything. It's funny because, in the UFO world, they're like, oh God, don't piss her off. Don't piss her off. It's like, you guys have no standards. You're willing to let yourselves go, to compromise any principle. You're afraid. And it's ridiculous. And because she's attractive, or because she's outspoken, or because she's on your side.
I will say that I do agree with you there. For 90 plus years, the government was the enemy, let's say, quote unquote. And now all of a sudden, we have a couple representatives, a couple senators, a couple people in government that are showing interest. And now all of a sudden we hang on their every breath, their every word, when it's the same government. It's the same bird.
Look. First of all, Eric Burlison is a gentleman and a nice person. He's tried to mediate this, and to his credit, I'm glad for that. I don't think it'll work. Good, but he's a great guy. Tim Burchett, I think, is well spoken. He's interested in this. It seems like from his heart. That's where this interest comes from. I believe Mr. Garcia. I've never heard, Representative Garcia. I've never met him, but I believe I've heard good things, that he's has good intentions. There are senators too. Booker, I think, is interested in some ways. Certainly, it's a state. New Jersey. I don't know. I wish. I think there is a degree of real interest, but the politicians don't have to be our enemies. But neither should we kowtow to them and kneel before them as if they are just all powerful. And the people who are part of the orgs, as I will call them, are constantly using their proximity, without being lobbyists somehow, to Congress people to secure notoriety, funding, whatever. Well, sorry, there's a degree to which that does seem like grifting. Okay. So no. I do think that there needs to be organization to effectively lobby. And I think lobbying is, when it's registered and appropriate, correct, so that Congress becomes informed and interested. I'm not against any of that, but the representatives serve us. Stop being so weak that you get a broader constituency, do the homework, go talk to other representatives who are curious about this from a religious perspective, a personal perspective. There's 535 of them. I'm sure some of them have been abducted by aliens, but won't say it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be somebody out there. We need better people and more of them. And it needs to be bipartisan. It can't be continually with just the Republicans. I agree. They haven't been successful. They can't find Epstein's murderer, despite whatever. They can't find his collaborators. They can't do, look, right. It's all nonsense. So
can't even prosecute Diddy correctly.
Yeah. They need to get the ufology needs a broader set of representatives and senators who are interested in it. I don't believe that the UAP Disclosure Act, that is, everybody's like, oh gosh, you got to support it. You got to support it. I talked to people who are like, you got to support it. I'm like, who wrote it? They're like, we have no idea. It was Colin Nell with some help from who knows who. and and he's been operating behind the scenes. Icy guy that he is. I had a terrible set of experiences with him.
I was gonna say, do you think this is he's problematic?
Absolutely. I absolutely think he's problematic. And
for the topic and where it's going, or for
he's a very intelligent person, right? And so I hold you, if you're intelligent like that, to a higher, not lower standard. Okay, you have a better standard, and unfortunately, I think he's. I don't know why. For example, rather than saying, let's, as a community, look at legislation. And first of all, there should be investigation before legislation. And we haven't even done any investigation. They've not issued one subpoena in Congress, except for Lue Elizondo, apparently. And then they're going and passing legislation. Are you insane? Right? Yeah. Don't do that. There should be a public and community investigation prior to passing legislation that is appropriate to what is discovered according to the facts. This is government 101, unless you have private interests guiding themselves to some nirvana, which, please support. No, it should be public. Yeah. The drafting should be public. The people should be public. The ufology community, we should say, we collaborate together on a piece of legislation that we think will hit the low-hanging fruit and gives us the best chance of either having people who are whistleblowers, or what do you want to call them, or government people or non-government people, be secure in their property, provide testimony under oath, and help us determine and also fund the science to see if there are things that have been excluded, from our understanding. Whether in physics or astronomy, it doesn't matter. Yeah. This is what should happen. And it should be done openly, but not in secret 501c3, sending memos back and forth. I have seen them, so that you can sneak in the door and then go tell a congressman, just put this in, and do this. And they don't know the topic. They don't have the legislative staff who are familiar with it. So they're like, who's this? What's this? Okay. Yeah. Drones. Sure. No. This is exactly the wrong way to do things.
Informed and educated.
Yes, and open. Why are we why do you, and I'm telling you, I've seen this so many times. Why do you demand government transparency? You demand that the government tell you about your UFOs. Where are the aliens? Who knows what? Right. And then the process to do that is hidden. It is absurd. Bring it to the community forefront. Bring it, draft legislation together in a congress, in a constitutional Congress. We'll call it a constitutional UFO Congress, where legislation is proposed, voted upon, suggested, and then you take it as a community and you say, Congress, this is what we're looking to do. Would you do it? Instead, it's drafted behind the scenes by people with selfish interests, aligned to take through eminent domain, perhaps, at least some people fear, their property and their understanding and what they've worked towards. No, and plus the government, if there were UFOs, has every right today to walk in and take it. It's not for absence of legislation, it's absence for willpower. So I'm telling you my truth as I understand it. I could be wrong. As the facts change, I'm willing to change my mind. But I do not see goodwill.
Have you seen, were you in attendance at South by Southwest for the screening of
I was not. No,
so you didn't see the film yet?
No, but the trailer was really phenomenal. That's
I was gonna I haven't seen it either, but I know that that people are talking about it and saying that it could bring a general public like fever pitch, and generate interest. And listen, I hope it does, but it's also calling for that mass amnesty. And I just don't think that that's the way to go.
I'm sorry, I've not seen the movie, so I don't know that it makes any particular call. I just saw the trailer and thought it was really cool.
Yeah, no, it does look good though.
Aside from being hyped for the trailer, that's it. I'm looking forward to it. when it gets out, awesome. And I do think it could make a really big impact. It's rare that a documentary really moves the needle in popular culture, but there were some, like Bowling for Columbine, I think, and Fahrenheit 9/11. Like there were some in the past documentaries, really, and this could do the same. And I think we need more media. I'm a big fan. I mean, it's that kind of silly, but I've been watching the Resident Alien show.
I literally just watched the last episode of season 4.
The only person the people who I like the actor Alan, whatever, the main actor of the Alien, of the Alien.
Alan Tudyk, so good.
Yeah, he's super awesome. And then the sheriff is fun, and the other sheriff, I forget the female character. Those two people, they're all cool. Not so much a fan, and I know they're great actors because they make me believe it, but of some of the whininess on the show. But
there is definitely that.
But despite that, it's a wonderful show and it's fun. And so more media, whether it's science fiction, more books, and more science itself, right? And more consideration and more respect should be accorded. You can't just dismiss things. Not everybody could be telling a lie and creating confabulations. People might be mistaken. It's possible on things, but overall, I think the body of evidence says we should take this seriously. The problem is we're stuck with the stigma, which has probably been engineered to a large extent. There's also, most of us have not had personal experience with an alien. I never worry about being abducted. I hope they do at some point take me, because I can't stand all these people here. And everybody says, oh God, it could be terrible. It's like, nothing could be worse than what I see with people. So on a day-to-day basis, I live with people's problems. So I'm very positive towards, I personally, if there is intelligent life and it's come to visit us, I do hope I don't know how they would communicate with us, because, it's hard to understand the mind of something else. But whatever it is, I think it's interesting, and I think we should be positive towards it. And I'm not saying it's all good. I don't know. They could come here and want to turn us into a parking lot, like Douglas Adams and the Hitchhikers or whatever it was. I forget what it was, but they could be wanting to do something weird. But I personally don't see it. I'm a fan of the optimism, and I think we can fix our political institutions. But the internal deceit and corruption and coercion and all this garbage for such an abstract topic is bizarre to me. And we should just get to nuts and bolts, treat each other reasonably well, do things collaboratively, maybe have that constitutional Congress for some bill that could be presented. There's also Sean Munger, a lawyer. He had the the Registry Act. And I thought that was good. I'm open to that as an idea, but people have suppressed it, by the way. They've totally told, I'll just say people suppress it. Even, they try to, they can't help but want to please certain people or be afraid of certain people. And that's why those other alternative voices get suppressed. It's disgusting. I find it reprehensible.
So like we'll end here, but I really, again, I thank you for your time, and I'd love to, I'd love to have, I'd fly Lue here to Boston.
Sorry, buddy. You can.
No.
Everybody wants Lue to go someplace.
Yeah. Not asking you. I'm saying.
I appreciate it.
Unlike Congress, I would pay for his expenses. So Lue, if you do see this, I'd love to have.
I don't think what's preventing him from going for Congress is a ticket on.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying.
No, that's not. And I appreciate you offering to host him. He's a very generous person with his time and
he is. I really liked his. I think that's the last conversation I watched of his was when he did Chris Ramsey. I thought it was really well done, and really, really fun. But so if there's a whistleblower out there, if there's someone who's worked in some sort of legacy program, and they want to be represented by someone who's going to have their best interest at heart, would you be at their, would you take their case? Would you take them on?
I mean, I don't know, because I would have to evaluate it. I only have so much time, but not just that. You have to have both. I believe in disclosure as a whole, and so I do think that anybody, I'd have to find somebody whose interest is obviously towards disclosure. That said, I would imagine that I would also want people who have a respect for any security that might be associated. I mean, if you want to run to, Russia and disclose there, I'm not going to help you commit any kind of crime.
Of course.
And and I'm going to protect you and your personal interest rather. But yes, I mean, if people feel that they need legal representation, whether from myself or certainly from other people, go get it. Yeah. And, and if you think you can't afford it, well, I am pro bono and always happy to do that kind of thing. And I've talked to many people in the community, and sometimes in, legal ways, sometimes not. But, I'm always happy to.
That's awesome.
To help. So, for people who really feel they're in a bind, and I've talked to some and I've helped them as I can. I don't think the threat is from death threats. I don't think the threat is from legal prescriptions, although those with commitments to the government should take them seriously, because like you should take any promise seriously, even if you disagree with it. You have to take it seriously, and then you deal with it through the proper channels, and then you attend to things. This is the way a system is designed to work. Going around the system to fix it breaks the system. It is the problem. So unfortunately, Congress right now is the roadblock. It's part of the system that has inhibited this, or at least not taken it as seriously as it could, but you can see why. As long as you're coming in good faith and you want to do something positive and you really have a legal issue, and you can tolerate the fact that, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. If you're my client, I'm going to go and help you up to what you want. But once it crosses a line, I do take this as, I take my role as a lawyer seriously. I'm not a public spokesperson. I don't speak for Lue Elizondo. I don't necessarily agree with him on, everything under the sun. He likes one things, I like different, he's a good person. And I am not a puppet or a spokesperson, and I don't care to be associated with people because they're UFO glitterati. I just don't give a damn about that. So I'm here to do legal work when and where necessary in limited moments, and that's it. So unfortunately, I've been called back up. I feel like the movies where the ex-soldier, is like in a cabin in the woods, and then all of a sudden, so the car drives up, and it's like, you got to come back, Zach, and help with this nonsense. I'm like, how did this even happen? It's so fucking crazy,
How did I end up here?
How did I end up back working for the people? Because it's like, you guys are insane, and it's just such a. But it does explain the state of our country almost in some respects. If we can't, with such a weird issue, frankly, for the average person, proceed in a thoughtful, kind, deliberative, open, positive way, and instead choose, and again, I'm not going to be that way. If they're not going to be that way, they're going to get mean Ivan. And now they're getting mean Ivan, and it's not going to be nice.
So wow, this was a very, very, very fun conversation. I really want to say thank you for doing it. Thank you for clearing up some of that stuff. I'd love to talk in the future about, some more geopolitical stuff, and broaden our horizon here. But
absolutely.
Where can people find what the latest is on Ivan and his work?
Listen, look, I'm on Twitter and Ivan Hannel ESQ. Some lunatics, I don't know who they were, took my old one, which is Ivan _Hannel. I don't care though. I mean, if this one goes down, I'll do another one. It's like, This is, I don't know who took it down. I don't really care. I'll just start a new one. I tweet a lot about different thoughts, and sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're silly, and sometimes they're about law, and sometimes they're about this stupidity. But no, I really just leave you all. Please, also, I have an email, Ivan Hannel ESQ at proton.me or whatever that you can reach me at if you have a real thing. But please don't email me like, is there an apocalypse impending? Are you a lizard? You morons. I don't have time for that, you dummies.
And even if I was a lizard, I'm not going to tell you on an email.
Oh, no. I would definitely tell you. I would definitely tell you, because I'm very direct and transparent. Maybe, at 54, I'm not here. I'm not pining to be somebody else. I am who I am, flaws, good things, bad things. And so you get what you get. And Yeah, so you can reach out to me, and I tweet about people. People say things. Please, one thing that's annoying for the X people, Twitter people, whatever you call, is when you just say something stupid, like short and stupid, like Lou sucks, I hate him. It's like, this is not your personal therapy session, you morons. Like, I'm not your therapist. I don't want to hear what you think of Lou, what you think of this, what you think of me. Like, it's annoying. I just have to then, I just look past it, and I don't block people usually unless they start dominating the conversation in an inappropriate way. But I'll block people if I have to. I just don't like to. It's not my principle. I have a principle of open discussion, just like I'm doing here, when other people would not. But
Absolutely.
But so talk to me if you want, if you have something interesting. I don't have the time to look at everything, but I will say, I found interesting things, interesting articles, videos, nice people, nice comments. There's great people in the community, and I really hope the scientific types still continue, despite the consternations of this, to do their best. Yeah. So I hope the science goes on. I hope we can reframe the politics to one of coordination, decency. I don't believe it's likely, frankly, knowing the players, knowing the politicians, at least some of them. Right. I think and the sad part is, honestly, by having, not done the right thing for Lou, and, him sort of going off into the wilderness, it's going to be tougher than it would before. He's a great voice for the community, for the public, at least. Granted, he gets things wrong. Yes. So do I. So do we all. But he brought attention to an issue that took 7 years to get to Congress, and unfortunately, he's not had much. Other people in their really disturbing and strange ways. And one of the last points I'll go. Find people of decent character, and it's not just their public character. What you hear, what you actually know. If you know, I've had personal experiences with people. I don't base this on supposition. I've had personal experiences. So when I'm saying I don't like somebody, it's probably a damn good personal reason for it. Bear that in mind. Right. Yeah, all no, right. And
as I would expect, I really, really want to say thank you again for doing this. Thank you
so much. Appreciate it. Have your audience have a great weekend. What's left of it. For me, it's probably just work, but I appreciate you all. And, please do good in your world, whether the aliens are here or not, whether it's taking your kids out, watching a great movie, treating yourself to something, taking a walk, doing the thing you were supposed to do, reading something new.
Yeah. Just don't sit on X all day and Spaces and talk about.
It's hard not to get into it and be, oh God, this person's bad. And these people, but I talk to most people, even the bad people in the community, the evil doers. I'll still talk to them sometimes to hear their thinking. And, I say, look, I'm just extraordinarily transparent, and people don't like that because they want to be all secret inside guru people.
Yes.
And you can just go fuck off.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be the quarterback, and
I'm not interested in being a quarterback. I'm not even necessarily interested in being on the team. Right. I'm interested in doing good work, and I wish everybody luck in this journey towards whatever is up there or here or in the spaces, in the interdimensional spaces of Luna's head.
One last one. I love it. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you so much for being here, man.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
All right. So with everyone else, guys, make sure if you're watching, like, share, subscribe. It really does help the channel and helps with what we do here, getting seen by a broader audience. I never ask. I don't sell merchandise or anything like that. So that's all we ask for is like, share, subscribe. And if you're listening in the future on one of the great podcast platforms, follow the show and leave a review. It's free and it takes 20 seconds. All right. We'll see you next time. Oh, I have a great conversation coming out with Rizwan Firk, edited by Kari Lindsay. It is it plays like a movie from what I've seen. And I can't wait for that to come out. It's the first episode in studio with a guest. So should be fun. All right. See you next time.